Approaches the room and our hearts and souls. We hold a state of silence in honor, respect, reverence to your holy presence, Father, Mother, God. Your divine grace approaches this moment, approaches our altar in our hearts and this center. We welcome you in by first surrendering all that is unlike your presence, all that is unworthy of love, peace, joy, abundance, all that reflects fears and inhibitions, blocks in any form in our being, in our mind, in our lives. We surrender all such concerns, issues onto the altar of God. We choose not to worship by breathing life into these every day. We're done with inflating false gods of fear, doubt, self-worth issues. All of these we place on the altar and allow you to lift them out of our lives and out of our being. All forms of addiction and so on, lifted up and made into the nothingness they are, dispersed by the Divine Mother and the Holy Spirit of God. We ask for instead your holy divine presence. We breathe that presence in so thoroughly and into every cell of our being that we can authentically know that when you see us, you see the Father, Mother, God. There is nothing else but the will of God. That's what we choose, and that's what we begin to see in our day-to-day lives. And so it is. The next step is to recite our mission statement together, please. It's on the brochures in front of you. Some of you know it by heart. Just continuing the prayer with our mission statement. Together, please. The global center for Christ consciousness is a spiritual center for students and masters on the spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and to creating a world of love, peace, joy, and abundance. And our sacred reading for today.
From the book of Ephesians. You were taught, with regard to your former way of life, to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your minds, and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. Therefore, each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor, for we are all members of one body. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what's helpful in building others up according to their needs, that it might benefit those who listen. Get rid of all bitterness, rage and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to each other, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. And so it is.
I hope it's clear that, when we do our sacred services on Sunday, we don't call them church services, obviously, but sacred services, and there's reasons for that and why we have our sacred readings. We don't do just gratuitous things, not the prayer, not the music. Everything is part of building that sacred experience on Sunday. So even the readings selected, they're already part of the download, already part of the intention setting. You follow? It's not just like, this is cute, oh, look, a cute poem, or, oh, this was on my fortune cookie today. It's all part of deepening the experience. So I hope that's clear. Is there any topic anybody would like me to cover in particular for today?
Listening. If you talk a little bit about how to grieve when you've lost your child, please. Meeting people where they're at.
Hold on one second. Hold on. What's the one in the back a minute ago? Before that? No, somebody back there said something. Okay, never. Okay, no, it was over here. Okay. What was it? Thank you. And then the last one? Okay, never mind. Oh. You know, one thing I'd like to emphasize, the variety of topics requested, grieving loss and faith and fear of death. And, you know, it's a funny thing that we actually define things so linearly on planet Earth. You know, like death that's the end, and they're gone. We can't see them. It's so strange the way we think of things. That's not at all how spirit sees things. And it's kind of, you know, funny in a way, because when I imagine how human beings are, as soon as you die, it's like, oh my God, you know, it's seen so differently. It doesn't mean you become illuminated. You don't become suddenly an ascended master because you passed away. As Edgar Cayce says, if you were a Methodist, you're just a dead Methodist. You know, if you're a Lutheran, you're just a dead Lutheran. You don't like suddenly have all wisdom, but you do see things from a little clearer perspective. Still the same issues. If you still hated somebody when you died, you'll take it with you on the other side and you'll be working on it still. Part of our sacred reading for today, that, you know, forgiving and letting these things go. But, and it is important for us to forgive ourselves that we don't see more clearly. You know what's really strange? Like we could say, well, I wish I had seen and known. If I would have known the karma with my partner that I divorced, I would have had an easier time with it. Well, that's nice. I get what you're saying. But I would like to ask you, why did you choose not to know? Well, it wasn't my fault. Yeah, it is. God doesn't actually say, I refuse to let you know what's going on. This is all very conscious. We're part of our life. We co-create, even when we don't know it. But we can become conscious co-creators instead of pretenders. You know, ones who want to pretend we don't remember. On earth, though, when someone's struggling, you don't say, well, you just wake up and figure out why that happened. You don't act cold. When somebody loses a child, when somebody loses a loved one of any form, I mean, you know, it's just peace to you. Peace. The peace of God be with you. You know, love them. Give them all the support you can. You don't hit them with, get over it, ever hit them with that. No, don't ever do that. Get over it. That's really weird. But even the new agey kinds of thoughts, well, why did you create that? That's not what they need to hear when they're grieving. So when you ask about grieving, allow the grieving. But while you're grieving, ask for peace. Ask for the peace of God. And there's a reason I'm saying that. While grieving, ask for the peace of God, because if you receive the peace of God, you can also extend it to the people you're grieving for. You see, there's other people grieving in your life if you lost a loved one. There might be other people around you grieving. So you can be part of the problem, let's all just keep grieving, or you can ask for the peace of God. And you don't know what good you've done when you looked at someone else who was grieving and you smiled a little bit and said, everything's okay. When they see you getting it together, you see, all of us play the role of parents, whether you've had children or not. Someone in the grocery store, somebody that you're training, somebody that's under you politically, somebody, you know, whatever it happens to be, where you're playing a role of the leader teacher of some kind, even just being an elder. I don't care what you're doing. You could be teaching somebody bocce ball in a park. You're still a presence. And are you a presence of the problem or the presence of peace? What are you bringing to the moment? And it's okay for you and I to say, you know what, not today. I can't be the presence of peace, Lord. Find someone else. I'm not in the mood. And then God will find somebody to help you and support you today. And that's an okay thing. It is. It's totally okay for us to own that today, man, I'm grieving. I don't know what to do. God loves us like we're its children, because we are, but meets us where we're at. So God can say, you're grieving. Well, grieve. Not, well, if you're an ascended master, you wouldn't be grieving. Wake up, knock it off. This is where you're at. my beloved, I love you so much. I want you to take a break today. Am I failing you? No. No, take a break. Yeah, but what if you stop overthinking? Take a break. Let me bring someone to help you today. I mean, it's no different than nurses that work their tail off, constantly helping people. Some days they have the flu and they need someone to take care of them. So it's okay for us to accept that human presence. Ultimately, we're not that thing, though. So pray for the help, the love, support, but also in the back of your mind, never forget, and isn't it funny that this is not me? This is not the real me. You could be laying there with COVID, having your, breath issues and breathing issues and whatever you got, headaches and people got, sore throats and all that. You could be having all that. In your mind, you don't have to believe that that's the truth of God. That's not contradicting. Well, if I'm suffering, it's contradiction to say I'm wondering. I didn't say to pretend you're not sick. I said, even while laying there, affirm that there's a dimension where this isn't happening. There's a dimension where you are in your holiness, because we are multidimensional beings. We are the light of God. We are the light of God. I am is the light of God. Now we heard, are you a son of God? Jesus says, I am. When he's saying I am, we can say I am the light of God, which is a true affirmation. But it's also true to say the I am in me is the light of God. The I am, the presence of God in me is the light of God, and the light of God is the presence of God. So that I am presence is in me. There's the I, the Trinity of God right up here. The I has a single point ending in a single point, right? The I. But the A goes from the single point of the I that ends, here's an I. Single point, it ends with a single point, but it goes into the M, a single point is an A, down to the 2 points of the A. And then the 2 points of the A meet the 2 top points of the M that end up in 3. I am is these 3 chakras. 1 point to 2 points to 3 points. The 3 points, as Lao Tzu says, it basically creates everything else. So all of this is coming from the I am. But the problem is something happens between the I am, that which I am, the light of God, to the part of me that is not, the I am not, which is the ego. Here's the I am, here's the I am not. My holiness fighting with my forgetfulness. There's this concept I shared recently in one of our groups. E equals MC squared. I think I maybe talked about it last Sunday. And I'm only mentioning this because E equals MC squared, this statement of Einstein's, but it really means E equals M, which is matter, energy and matter. E equals MC squared. The squared aspect of this means your energy and matter, your material self, your energy and your matter depends on your light, how much light you bring to the moment. So do you notice that you're a dense person, energy, or a dense person, matter? Are you energy or are you matter? It depends on your perception. How much light do you bring to the moment? See? How much light do you bring? It's not just a mathematical equation. It's the concept of energy and mass are the same. It just depends on what state of mind you're in when you perceive them. Well, I would like to have more. Well, you bring it. No, I want to blame somebody for my not having more light. That doesn't make any sense, which automatically excludes you from having light when you think you have to blame somebody for not being the light. So you'll learn to say, but I am. I feel sick. I feel sad. I feel like I'm grieving. Feel it. But then the real me, I am immune to all of this. I am the presence of God. That's a great thing to remember. And when we're saying, I am, something's happening. Now, it's just words, you could think. I am. But when you're affirming the presence of God, Yogananda had a technique where he would say, imagine light in the center of your brain, because there is light. But he's saying, imagine that, because what you're doing is you are activating the presence of God in its proper place right here. which some called, like Descartes and others, the seat of the soul. Your soul, really, heart and soul, this is our main identity in terms of using a metaphor of the body. But in here, this is the presence of God, the seat of the spirit, it should have been called. So this is the presence of God. And you have a little gland in there, because it's not just chakras. With every major chakra comes a major gland, endocrine gland associated. So in the center here, there's this little thing that looks like a pollywog. It's called the pineal gland. Strangely, it kind of looks at the biggest round part, looks like a pine cone, which is why we call it a pineal gland, because it looks like a pine cone. So when light hits the pineal gland, the tail starts to flutter. There's a problem. You don't have light in the center of your skull. Then why do you have a gland that's light sensitive? Because there is another kind of light that it's sensitive to. You know, I mean, I'm surprised there isn't some cult out there that says you got to drill a hole in the center of your skull so that light reaches your pineal and then you become enlightened. Because people try so many synthetic means to reach enlightenment. It's ridiculous. It's not outside. It's not an external light. Then what causes the pineal to flutter? And when it does, it starts to say, oh my God, the presence of God. We're so excited. And then what happens is your cranial fluid, your kundalini, and your cranial fluid that's down here in the pelvis, which is equivalent of hell, because this is heaven, this is hell. So down in the pelvis, known as hell, you've got this energy that starts to go, wait, we're waking up. We're not just going to stay in hell anymore. We're waking up. And so it starts going, and it starts rising up to the crown. And the pineal's going, come on, you can do it. Come on, kundalini, up. Come on, up. And it's calling it up, forward, upward. It's so beautiful. This thing, why is it down in hell? Because I don't believe I deserve anything better. That's the problem. This has nothing to do with God. If I'm in hell, it's because that's what I think I deserve. On some primal, gross, ego-based level. That isn't God's perception, it's mine. And that's where free will goes a little nuts. I have the free will to think that I'm less than holy? And then why would I even want to exercise that? Because I'm just in this pattern of brokenness. And I don't know anything else. Would you like to know anything else? No, not really. Oh, so you want to stay in hell? No, I don't. Oh, now you're contradicting. And that's what people, they walk the planet every day saying they don't want hell, but they choose it every day. If you're not walking and choosing the light of God, if you're not walking in the light of God and choosing the light of God, by default, you're choosing darkness. So there's this point where this pineal gland is fluttering, and it's so beautiful because this is the alchemical wedding between my soul that's allowed the ego to take it over and repress me and lock me in the prison of hell consciousness, and now the pineal's calling me upward. Now it sounds beautiful. We could do a meditation right now, and I'll do certain sounds and things, and an array, and the pineal starts fluttering, and we all start to feel, but there's a problem. Any part of you that doesn't believe it's deserving is going to be purged. It's going to be having to be looked at. You see, it's not just, whoa, this is smooth. Any part of you that doubts this process is going to come up. Even if we accomplish some, whoa, this is an amazing meditation. Thank you, Michael. When you leave today, something's going to happen because you allowed the light to shine on your missed thoughts and demons, your addictions or whatever. So when you hit the world, these things are going to show up. And that's why so many people say, wow, when I got on the spiritual path, a lot of stuff started happening in my life. That's the ego trying to scare you off the path. The Christians say it's the devil testing you. I don't care what name you give it, it's a problem. It's an inconvenience. Something's in the way. But it doesn't have to be in the way. And the pineal gland, interestingly enough, it's this like a pine cone. It's just real quick, pine cone. The larger of the pine cones is considered to be the female of the pine cone. And the reason is, inside it has seeds. When there's enough warmth and light in the environment, pine cones expand and release seeds. So does your pineal. It releases hormones, chemicals, you see, just like a pine cone. Now, the pine cone, strangely enough, the pine cone has been revered around the planet, in Mesopotamia, India. It's revered as something like unique, like it's a symbol of fertility and so on. It's a symbol of the goddess Venus. So it's this amazing, just a pine cone, but yet there's so much to it. Symbolism. The Pope has a pine cone on the end of his staff. The Vatican has a giant pine cone carving in its courtyard. It's revered around the world, but why, how, and so on. What's this about? Because it's a symbol of God, our awakening, and more to it. But the pine cone releases these seeds. Now, in ancient cultures, they were always doing this, and some people today still know this. You can take a pine cone that's 10 years old, dead on the ground for 10 years, hang it from a tree, and it'll tell you the weather accurately. The little pieces of the pine cone, the little leaves, we'll call it, petals, they'll tighten up when it's going to be cold or dark, and they open. The thing is dead. It's on the ground for 10 years, but it's not dead. The pine cone will still shut when it's cold and open when it's warm. But the warmth and the light that it's sensing accurately, telling you it's going to be warm tomorrow, cold and so on. But the light, it's a metaphor. When it feels light, the pine cone, it feels safe. You see? I'm going to open up because everything's safe. Your aura expands when you feel safer. Your chakras tend to open like a morning glory flower, if you're familiar with those. It kind of opens and then closes when you're not feeling so open. We should not. If you're not walking in the light, if you're not feeling safe, don't open your mouth, because you're going to come from fear. If you're not safe, I guarantee chakras, aura is going to constrict. If you're not feeling safe, keep your legs closed. Keep everything shut, keep everything kind of like, hey, you know what? No. If I don't, I'm like a pine cone. Tell your partners that. I'm a pine cone. Don't touch me. Make me feel safe and I'll show you a good time. If I'm not feeling the light of God, the presence of God, stay back. In your own wording, mind you, but that's a healthy statement. The pine cone's saying this. Now, if somebody comes along and says, hey man, I love multidimensional, hallucinogenic experiences. Here's what they're doing. See, you can have one of two things. A mind-altering experience, which is usually from synthetic things, or a mind-opening. Do you want your heart to open, or do you want it fooled to be opened? See? Not your legs, not your heart, not your mind, nothing, unless it's organic. How's it going to be organic? There are ways, which I'll come back to, I imagine, because I can't imagine leaving it hanging like this, but come up with something soon, Lord. No. But honestly, like when you force the pineal open with chemical induction of any kind, I don't care if you call it organic chemicals or non-organic. If you're using chemical means, here's the sad thing. You're forcing the pineal to activate, and it forces things open, and you start to have multidimensional visions. Oh, this is amazing. But you're having a mind-expanding kind of a hallucinogenic experience. But it's not a mind-opening experience. It's not an unfoldment, which can only come from the Holy Spirit. So there are ways to bring that about. But if you look at how the pine cone is, it's me. That pine cone is my pineal gland. How do I create a safe place for the pine cone to open, the pineal gland? There's specific things we have to do. One of them, beautifully enough, strangely enough, is love and forgiveness. I don't mean to, just use that like gratuitously when I say that every so many Sundays. I don't mean just the same old, love and forgiveness, get over it kind of thing. No, I'm talking about the day-to-day practice of I'm going to choose to see this differently. I want to choose to see that person who I resent, who is rude and whatever they were, but I want to see them differently. I want to see them as God sees them. That allows the Holy Spirit, which is the divine mother, the feminine symbol of the pine cone, to open and flutter that pineal gland. Something different. Why? Because I'm seeing differently. The pineal and the pituitary work together as the masculine and feminine parts of the Father and Mother God to open your mind differently. So now third eye opens and I feel peace. I was feeling, anger, hurt, but something's happening. The light of God is opening up, warming up in my mind. And when it does, it becomes a vibration and the pineal awakens and starts fluttering like she's dancing. And she starts fluttering. And then she calls my humanness, are you willing to rise and join us in our divinity? And whatever isn't is going to have to show up in my life somewhere. But so you don't say to the Holy Spirit, okay, make it happen now. You don't tell her what to do. You ask to see life as she does with love and forgiveness, and she'll take care of the awakening of the Kundalini. She'll decide how much you can handle at any given time. Trust me, your dealers that give you the hallucinogenics have no idea how much you can handle at a given time. What they care about is how much you buy so they can make a living. No offense if you're a dealer. So, love and forgiveness. We love you too. Love and forgiveness is the first step to create a mind-opening experience. The second thing, it's an interesting thing because using your willpower to say no to temptation. I don't mean temptation like the church version, which is everything's evil. See it as evil, give it power over you, and then fight against it or run from it. That's not what I mean. Anything that takes you out of your center is a temptation to be out of your center. You have to learn to say no to walking in the darkness. And that could be thoughts of anger towards somebody from the past. Why do you think they're coming up, somebody from the past? You just happen to be doing like a kundalini or a prayer, or, pineal opening meditation, and by chance 3 days later, somebody popped into your mind you haven't thought of for a while that was hurtful to you in some way. That's not an accident. This is an opportunity where the mother could be saying, even if you're using false means of awakening, you still have your issues. And if you have an issue and you say, help me, she's still going to be there even if you used synthetic means of getting there. She's still going to be there for you when you call on her. Okay, honey, I wouldn't have recommended this direction, but you did. And so now that you're here, there's something coming up. How can I help you? Why is this person showing up? Well, apparently, you have some healing to do with this person and she'll help you. But you have to choose, activate your willpower to say no to the temptation, to engage in things that take you off your center. Yes, that means addictions. Yes, it means rage. Yes, it means entertaining angry thoughts towards somebody that you feel hurt you. We have to learn to have discipline. But I'm not implying that this is an evil. Watch out for temptation. The body is evil. Food is evil. Sex is evil. This is evil. Not going there at all. It's not true. That's not an accurate way of dealing with this. It's just, wow, I can see where my weaknesses are. It's called responsibility. This test, this issue, this loss of a friendship, this is a test for me to look at myself. See, temptations, not testations, temptations. They're like tests, but they're not done right. So they're called temptations. If done right, they're just tests. And I can see through it. Wow, this is showing me where I still have some self-doubt. This is showing me where I still feel like unworthy or I'm incapable of handling this. Like in the recovery program, you really shouldn't imagine engaging in a recovery program without the presence of God to hold space for you, support you, right? At some point, you realize the God that's supporting me is also my real self. It's embracing it to a whole new level. Fighting temptation will look like you're fighting against. I'm tempted to go back to that person, whether it's for a relationship or a one night, whatever. I'm feeling tempted. No, I mustn't, and doing the drama kind of look. You'll go from that to help me, God, make me not go there. Okay, which implies that if you do go there, God is powerless. So that doesn't make sense. It means you're really calling on God to help you a little bit. Because if you have a temptation for anything, it means it's still attractive to you. You get to a point where it's not an option. There's no draw to it. There's no attraction. You see, it's like, how does that happen? You know how it happens? Because your neurons got reprogrammed and there's no longer something in there that says, oh, look, a dangerous kind of risky kind of person. I want that kind of guy in my life. Yeah, he's hot. Yeah, and heat burns. And then you wonder why later, Lord, help me. They burned me. Well, I know. You want it hot. You got it. So we have these strange attractions, to unhealthy things. And one of our strangest attractions is to fear. Well, no, fear would make me repelled. No. We have a strange attraction to drive by a car accident, look for the details, and wish we hadn't. Then why did you look? I just had to. What's going on? A Course in Miracles, Jesus tells Helen, murderers are afraid of fear, which then makes them want to dance with it. You see? We all dance with our demons, and we don't want to believe that. There's attractions to the edgy guy, the hot, sultry, or whatever words they use, for the gal. The shallow will breed shallow. We love to hate what we love. So we're attracted to things only to find that we hate it, but we had loved it. We turn on ourselves. It's the strangest thing, constantly betraying ourselves. We have to learn to see our little secret affairs that we have with fear and edgy stuff, our issues. What are you afraid of? What's your issue today? Well, I'm afraid of not having money. Oh, I have a job that's opening up. No, I don't want to work there. Why are you complaining about not having money if you don't want to work there? Well, I just feel like Spirit's going to, really? Do what? Just start pouring money into your account from the ethers? You think your bank, whatever the name of your bank is going to go, oh, we noticed you have deposits from the ethers. And you say, well, who's that? Well, we don't know. It just says ethers has been downloading $100,000 a year, out of the blue. It's not going to happen that way. We have to get in alignment with God. You see, yes, God can help us manifest, but it's by getting in alignment with God. So, interestingly enough, we have to steer clear of the temptation to be pulled out of our center. The third technique that we would use to create mind-opening, organic mind-opening experiences, which involve more light of God in my being. And I'm not, if somebody's here and watching online or a loved one of yours is into the hallucinogenics, you're like, I don't like this guy, obviously. Because I'm not appealing to your ego. And do you think I care? But, and I care about you, but not your ego. But listen, I'm not putting down what you're doing, because we've all done something a little bizarre, something a little not in our perfect, healthy, holy self. That's fine. But just hear and keep an open mind that it's possible, that there's a difference between mind-expanding experiences that you do to yourself versus an organic mind opening. Just think that it's a possibility and not be so irritated at me. It's a possibility. So the third way to open the mind and bring in more light of God. See, a drug can't actually give you the light of God. It can force the pineal open and you'll go, oh, I see light. But it's a special effect that's coming from a chemical reaction. I don't want a chemical reaction anywhere in my life telling me what to do. You see? I don't want to say, well, the pine cone's warning me today's going to be cold. Well, that's a drag. I don't like that. I'm going to stay warm and light myself on fire. That doesn't make sense. Well, I'm warmer. You're burning. So don't use this like weird lack of common sense to get through your life. Start to realize I have made insane decisions. And I've sometimes defended them and justified them. But why? If they're pulling me out of my center, they're not right for me. That's all. If going out with friends and we always end up partying no matter what I say, stop going out with your friends. But that doesn't mean blame them for you giving into the party. Start to recognize they're me. They represent my weak self that keeps saying yes, and now it's no. And I hold my center. And the ego and some of your friends are going to say, well, now look, now you don't have anybody to go hang out with because you're not getting stoned with us. So now what have you achieved? Loneliness, good for you. And you say, you know, it might look like I'm lonely, alone, but I'm all one with God. Oh, well, good for you. So now you're a nun. We're partying. We're having a good time. Yeah, but you're sitting over a toilet bowl the next day and I'm not. I feel alive and you're dying. Everything you're doing to yourself is bringing you death. If you could see your auras, and I'm not saying you actually want to tell your friends these things, but if you could see the aura looks like of somebody who has, and I won't name specific, certain addictions, you should see what the aura looks like with certain types of addictions. It's not a pleasant, oh, like the angels are all around celebrating and hanging out in your auric field in the light of God and this really radiant, joyful halo. That's not what it looks like. Addiction, including the addiction to be enraged or angry or judgmental, it destroys life. So I don't have a biogenic, a life-generating field because with the presence of God, I feel so plugged in, I'm just radiating light. What I have is a biocytic field, a life-destroying field. So things are turning back on me. They can't find life, so they start feeding off of me. I have addictions that are eating holes in my aura, my energy field. You see, these are like homunculus or little creations of a sorcerer that has negative thoughts. And it isn't just like literally you're going into a ritual and doing negative magic. I'm just talking about anger. I refuse to give up this anger towards that person. It becomes a thought form that boomerangs back and now it's feeding. These are my little creations, miscreations, and they feed off of me because I'm their mother. I birthed them. They got to come back and feed. And yes, some of it goes out, and if people are open to it, they take it on, and they can feel kind of weird energy, and so they need an aura cleansing, and they need a soul retrieval to get your weirdness out of their energy field because you sent them hateful thoughts. But what you don't realize is the one sending it has far more danger than the one seemingly receiving it. It turns back on us. So the third point is how do I increase the light of God in my being? Remember, love and forgiveness, yes, of self and others. Don't forget self and others. Secondly, no to the things that pull me off center. Is that good? Third, call in the presence of God, because that is the light. Not only call in the presence of the Divine Mother, but imagine her, like Yogananda said, as a light in the center of your mind. I can be going through the worst thing. You have a flu or you're having financial issues. You still have the right. Step 2. Step 1, forgive what's brought it about. Step 2, you could still go back and say no to some of the fearful voices calling on you. But even if you only did step 3, despite the way I feel, despite the way my bank account looks, despite whatever's going on, somehow the presence of God is still here. That's not like I hope. That's a fact. I'm affirming that no matter what it looks like, that's not the truth of God. Right here, there's still the light of God. And when you get really good at this, whatever seems to be happening in the tornado, winds around you, in the center, there's the peace. And I can see it. Oh, there it is. Oh, and I'm imagining it. See, I'm calling her in. Here's what seems to be happening, just like Jesus being crucified, but he still refused to believe it. Into your hands I surrender my spirit isn't like an insane thought. How could he be, into your hands I surrender? How could he be saying this? How could he be surrendering to something if he didn't believe in it? He knows she's there, the Holy Spirit. He knows the presence of God can't go away. So even though he's being crucified, he still chooses to surrender it all to God. That's a great affirmation. What he's saying is, despite the way things look, into your hands I surrender my spirit. King David, even though I'm going through the dark night of the soul, the valley of the shadow of death, you are with me. We all have to practice that. Say no to the temptation to the contrary. Say yes and choose to imagine the peace of God. If a COVID kind of thing happened tomorrow, or power outages or whatever on this planet, let's pretend for a second, and let's say everybody on the planet had to do something. One thing I would suggest is this exercise. that no matter what's going on out there, the light of God. It's an amazing thing because it makes you immune to all this stuff, the hoopla going on, no matter who wins the Super Bowl, no matter who wins the election, no matter who wins the World Series. It's like your center's still here. I don't allow it to pull me off. Yeah, I used to do such and such whenever my team didn't win, but now I don't. I don't care. I don't care means I'm cold. It doesn't mean I've become a stoic. It means that I am in my center and I feel peace no matter what. And it is a strange way to live, I have to, admit, because what's there to talk about if you're not complaining? What's there to talk about if I'm not gossiping? If that's all I'm used to, it's going to seem like, I'm going in a lonely direction. But you find you'll talk to God more, first of all. Oh, okay. So Michael, I'm going to do some of Michael's suggestion, instead of having fun friends, I just talk to the Lord, while I walk around, eating tasteless foods and just wearing, just a seamless, a nun outfit or whatever. That's not what I'm suggesting. Man, it's passionate. Do I seem bored while I'm standing here? It's passionate. You feel alive. You can be intimate anytime you want, but it's done right. You can choose a relationship, but it's done right. You can change jobs, but it's done right. Everything comes from a different place. This light is not just hanging out. It's guiding me so specifically, so amazingly, that it's up here, the pineal awakens because of my choice to E equals MC squared. Back to the light of God. How much light there is my choice. I am choosing to allow the presence of God. So suddenly matter becomes energy. And then energy rises to something even higher than that. And so oh my God, something supernatural is happening. Wow. And then the pituitary and pineal, the Father and Mother God, they're working in unison. They're going to now speak to the Son. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. The Father and the Mother are going to speak to the Son. What gland is that? The next gland down, the thyroid, which is the spoken word. I am the Word. The Word was made flesh. The Word is the Christ. That's us. We're the spoken word or creation of God. So the Father and Mother speak to the child. That's you and me. And then the child, yes, what would you have me do? And this is how the endocrine glands work. These two master glands are going to talk to the thyroid, and then they tell the thyroid to go into the body and distribute messages to all the other glands. And then the glands are going to distribute messages into the bloodstream and to the organs. This is an amazing supernatural experience, you see? And it's happening even when you're just a geek, just a dense, I'm not into God, I don't believe in God. It still works. To be alive, you have to have some amount of the presence of God talking to the thyroid. But if you have more ego signals and you shut this off, you're just dying faster, not only biologically, but psychologically. You're here, but you're dead because you're cut off from the presence of God. When you start to believe in God in some manner and surrender, the humble ego self, humbling itself. Those who, surrender and put their forehead to the ground, it's a beautiful symbol of I am nothing, meaning my ego self, but in you I am everything, and I rise to a new self. So this becomes activated in light, and I start to become awakened, and I start to feel the presence of God. It's so glorious. It's so beautiful. Awakening. Wow. Now, these master glands tell the thyroid, you are my beloved child in whom I am well pleased. And the thyroid's like, really? God, this is great. Now bring the good news, which is Jesus coming to earth to tell the good news of the Lord. So technically you could say, and if you asked, somebody that's a practitioner of psychoneuroembryology and some of these other fields where you're studying like the deeper aspects of neurons and chemistry and endocrine glands and so on. When you get into studies like this, you realize they will refer to chemicals as being messengers. But do you know that the original translation of messenger is angels? So now it's like God's talking to the Christ, and the Christ is speaking to the angels saying, help me bring messages to the world, which is me. So now all of us, neurologically and chemically speaking, it's like these messengers are making it to every particle, every gland, every organ. Have you heard the good word, of the Lord? We heard 2,000 years ago, Jesus is walking around, Judea and teaching. But this is you. Every day you have the opportunity to say, I'm choosing resurrection. That which was the ego self has been crucified, not hatefully, just released. It tried to crucify me, and I said no. When I said no, I resurrected from its crucifixions, its judgments. Now I'm a different person. And like Jesus, bringing the good news of the Lord before and after a resurrection, he's wandering, saying, spread the word. But who's that? Jesus? It's you and me too. He's telling us, everything I've done, you're going to do and more. So get on it. Let God give you the Christ, resurrect the Christ in you that's been dormant or asleep or dead, and let it come to life and wander the villages of your being and tell your glands and so on about the good news of God. Now, you don't have to know what that good news is. Okay, I got to figure out that my liver's going to get this message, my spleen's going to get this. You just shut up. That's the ego again. Just tell it no. I'm not interested in trying to keep notes as to which organ gets what messages. You won't succeed and you'll drive yourself nuts. Just marvel in it that it's happening. Celebrate. When you do yoga, if you're doing yoga, I don't care what you're doing, yoga or going for a walk, or you're sleeping, or stretching, or eating, bring the presence of light into everything you do. Yoga means to yoke yourself to God. We had a yoga conference that takes place here every year. And one time they asked me to be one of their speakers. And I thought, okay, I don't know if you know what you're getting yourself into. So I spoke at the yoga conference. And one of the things I spoke about was, why don't we just start with the original meaning of yoga? Because everybody's, they're doing their, asanas, and bird calling the north, and, all these different, and isn't this cosmic? And they're doing all this stuff. But I thought, you know what? Before you do any asanas, how about this? How about we start with this? What does yoga mean? And they're all like, and I'm like, how are you teachers, masters of yoga, and you don't know what it means? Well, it's, asanas and postures, and there's this chart in your Jane Fonda workout clothes. And No. Yoga means to yoke yourself to God. And some of the people attending complained to the facilitators of the event and said, this guy mentioned God. That has nothing to do with yoga. And I'm like, are you nuts? That's all it has to do with. It's all that anything matters is God. It's the only thing that matters. So yoga is a beautiful concept because it means tethering yourself while you're cooking to God. Put God light into your food. And if you're cooking something you hate, it's not going to go as easily as something you love. If you're being intimate with somebody that's like, I guess I have to, you can't bring light into that moment. Well, this is what some people do, So sorry, man. You should not be regretting or nurturing inhibitions about anything you're doing. It should be lively. It should be, oh my God, I love what I'm doing. You see, whatever, even labor, work, don't try to make it more of a spiritual experience. If you can't do it organically, like I said, call in the presence of levity, light, joy, God. See, it's not like, well, I got to work at bringing that in. Just ask for it to be there. And then I said, imagine it so. Look at somebody before you're sharing intimacy. Look and just ask, I want to feel love and respect for this person. If I can't, too much water under the bridge, then think twice about doing this. Or it's going to take a few minutes for you to just kind of, then do that. Serve God first. We had snow this week, and we have these sails outside that are shade sails, and they're like hanging about this high off the ground with snow. I drove by and I thought, yeah, someone ought to. Someone ought to. All right. And I'm in a t-shirt and shorts, and it's 0 degrees, and I'm like, oh, whatever. So I get out there, and we got no instruments out there to try to push up under it to push the snow off. So I had to find, a leaf blower. It was the only thing that we had. And it's, it's not even tall enough, but I just have to stand under it, kaboo, kaboo, trying to, watch the snow. But while I'm doing it, I'm not like, I hate snow. I hope these people appreciate, my thoughts can't go there. They're not there. It's just like, I'm so grateful it snowed. I love snow. And it's not always perfect thoughts. There's an occasion when I'm doing this and all of a sudden it comes pouring off onto me and I'm like, oh, that was good. That was helpful. I just had a synthetic means of experiencing spirit. Don't be shy. Call in the presence of the mother. The pagan people around the world have always celebrated the sun coming back during a certain solstice and equinoxes and all this, the sun's movement, or the morning coming over the horizon. But if they're able to celebrate the coming of the light and warmth of the sun, you are the son, child of God. So why don't we celebrate your arrival? Why don't we celebrate the awakening of the light, Son of God, the light of God in our being instead of just outside, in our being, and let it shine its light and bring harvest, rich harvest in my life. Let the light shine in every gland, in every cell. You could have secret cells here and there, secret hidden parts of yourself, things you don't want to know about and things you just happen to not remember. Let the light shine. It'll bring light and warmth to things that you're knowingly and unknowingly hiding from. And it's like, wow, the Son of God has come. The sun has come. So there's going to be harvest. What's the harvest going to be? Well, if the light shines to my root chakra, prosperity, health, vitality, immunity, if it shines into my emotional center, my relationships are better, my family of origin stuff might get illuminated, some stuff to heal and disperse away. And now that's awakening to my solar plexus, my mind, my intellect, my learning. Light is shining on the things I choose to study and watch and experience. And then it shines into my heart where my soul gets to go, oh my God, it's been so long. My whole being then dances in delight and dances in the light of God. I feel no separation. I just feel alive. You see, the pine cone wants to open, but it can only open when it's safe. When you force it open synthetically, you're forcing it open when it potentially isn't safe. And that's where a lot of danger can happen. That's why you have sometimes Kundalini casualties, we call them. People that have just gone too far. And I understand it. And I'm sorry, I do understand it, that it's frustrating that I just want to experience God more. And the closest, I take a pill and all of a sudden I'm seeing light and colors. Yeah, but what you're doing is the reason you can see these things. Not only are you destroying brain cells with some of these things more than others, but even with the most innocuous, simpler things, you're still ripping holes in your auric field, so you're seeing things of the fourth dimension that otherwise would have been shielded from you, or let's call it hidden from you. And now you can see them, and you think, pretty colors, look. But it's actually unhealthy. And if you think I'm wrong in it, all I have to say is use the pine cone. It opens with light and warmth, and that's a metaphor of feeling safe. So I will only open up myself to things that feel safe. That doesn't mean I become obsessive about it. I'm at a stoplight and it turns green. Well, let me check. Is the light quotient appropriate? Do I feel safe enough to drive? And everybody's in the back. Now you're not feeling safe and you think it's them honking at you. No, you're just annoying. Get out of the way. Go do your light work in the Safeway parking lot. But get off of 89A and out of the roundabouts, for God's sakes. But that's another story. And please tune into the words safe. You see? When love is present, you feel safe. You could still feel a little intimidated because love can be a little scary to some of us. If we've never felt it before, it's a little like, is this real? I get it. But generally speaking, the presence of God, peace, it's love, it's safety. I feel warmth. And immediately, something stressful's coming, we clench. When it passes, we open. That's the pine cone. That's my pineal. And I might not be able to see my pineal, but I know that's what's happening. But if it's happening there, it's happening in my muscles, my joints, my breath, my aura, my chakras. You see what's happening? That's called death. The clenching is not relaxed. It's not peace. As a metaphor, it's not healthy. So try that on. Check that out. And in closing, understand that this, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I might be one of the people that going to lose my job or whatever the fears are. My partner could be cheating again, and this could happen. My kids could get sick. My kids are on drugs. All these things that keep us tense. If you were to beam in straight from spirit, I guarantee you, general rule is, if you beamed in directly, you're like this. Your aura is just like this, and it just pulses so gently, and your chakras are going, and every joint, even the smallest bones in your feet, little metatarsals and little fingertip, all the different bones, they're all rocking a little. Everything. See, even in my breath, it looks like I'm just breathing here. Even when I'm breathing in, little bones in my feet, the joints are lubricating and rocking. And the lymphatic is moving, and the blood is flowing, and everything's just this pulse of life. And all it takes is, boo, for a second. Okay, it's gone. Okay, and we go back. Boo, twice, and 3 times, 4 times, people calling us names, shaming us, hurting, throwing things at us, hitting us, etc. We don't bounce back anymore. You see? And some things are going to lock up more than others. The places you were struck might lock in, and that's where you're holding trauma. Or sometimes it's not the literal holding, it's a perceived. Like somebody might not literally harm your, let's say, kneecaps, but yet the metaphor of the kneecaps means something. Therefore, that's where I'm holding the lock or the hurt, the pain. It could be a psychological, emotional hurt, not just a physical. So, it's supposed to look expansive, and yet we're all so shut down. When I allow myself to trust, even the simplest thing, food, oh my God, this is delicious. See, that's a moment of like childlike. You must be as children to enter the kingdom of heaven is a metaphor of many things. But one of the metaphors is you can't get to heaven all clenched. I'm ready, Lord. It doesn't make sense. And God's like, let's start with loosening up. Like relax. We'll send you back for another lifetime so you can learn to loosen up. Maui you go, It's some place where you can just float in the salt water and let the, sounds of the whales and dolphins, send you healing and great, another lifetime working on healing. But you could just choose relaxation and trust. Does that mean we should trust in the untrustworthy parts of life or untrustworthy people? No, that's just foolish. How do I know the difference? I don't know. I would ask the Holy Spirit to help you. How would you have me see this? And it keeps you safer. And at first, if you're going from a certain traumatic kind of lifestyle and you go into safety kind of lifestyle, at first you'll slip a little. You'll have those oops and moments of hurt. Refuse to shut all the way back down. Take one step back, reassess and breathe, and then let's go forward again. For every 10 steps forward, it's not a problem to take one back and recalibrate and reassess. It's okay. Just don't take 10 back with one forward. And we have to see that in our lives when you're doing that. And be careful because, some of us are going to sabotage our lives and try to trust, creating sabotage, getting hurt again, and then blaming me or somebody for telling you to trust. You're the one sabotaging. You have to learn your deservability, and you won't create the traumatic events again and again to confirm that you can't have a better life. Insist on it. It's God's will. So what do I have to say about it? Nothing. I don't care. I'm not interested in feeding that old self. Please take a few centering breaths. Relax and let go of all the stuff of the world. Take your whole body for a moment. On the next inhalation or two, clench your whole body and hold and hold. Squeeze everything you know you can, inside and out. And then exhale. One more time. Inhale, clench. This is fear. This is emotional, psychological, physical fears and hurts. And say no. We are in the vessel of the Divine Mother. Here we're safe. Even if hurtful thoughts arise, I know to say no to the ones that pull me off center, and I know to say, peace of God be with you to the ones that are ready to be healed. How I experience this is a choice I make. My I am presence is the light of the world. My I am presence is the light of the world. Repeat that quietly in your mind 6 times, slowly, gently, authentically. But as you do, try to imagine a little spot of light, spark of light, in the with each repetition until all brain. If thoughts or images of people arise, they're not distractions, they're blessings waiting to happen. Bless them with that light you're affirming that you have. Don't brush them away because they're an inconvenience to seeing that light. Bless them with that light. My I am presence is the light of the world. And nothing can ever take this away. It's the truth of God. With the next breath, knowing that you're filled with this light in the heavens above, my I am presence is the light of the world. Repeat that and draw that presence from the heavens in your head down into your heart on an inhale. Draw that light down. My I am presence is the light of the world. Draw it into your heart, hold it there, pack it in. Exhale, and when you exhale, let it shoot outward, your whole chest and region around you, outside of you. Again, my I am presence is the light of the world. Inhale and bring it down, draw it to your solar plexus. Hold it there for a second. My I am presence is the light of the world. Exhale and let it shoot outward, filling that section of your body and all the way outward. To the navel, all this light, my I am presence is the light of the world, down to the navel. Draw that light in and hold it there for a moment. This is my emotional life, my emotional body, my family of origin, relationships. Bam, and let it come outward on an exhale. Shine it brightly. Don't let any of these things inhibit it. Just shine the light out. Shine this, let it burst outward and illuminate all dark memories and thoughts. And finally, to the root chakra, my I am presence is the light of the world. Breathe it down all the way to the root chakra, the material world, the dense world, your body, your immunity. Exhale and let it burst outward. Now gently, 3 more times. This time it's your whole body and being, your whole aura is gently glowing. No more bursting, just being, waves. My I am presence is the light of the world. A hand or two to your heart. My I am presence is the light of the world, and the light that I am, I share with you. For the next few moments, just Shine that light out to anybody that pops into mind. People you love, people you challenge with. My I am presence is the light of the world, and the light that I am, I share with you. Bless you. And we give thanks that your presence is here with us, Holy Spirit of God. We give thanks that this work that we do, this light work, we give thanks that this light work is what really illuminates the world and brings peace and joy into the hearts of your children. We're honored to be a part of this by being good light workers. And everyone we just imagine shining light upon, it's so. It's happened already. And wherever they are, they'll feel that and experience that in their own way. Even those loved ones who have passed on. The light that I am, you are. And light can't be separated. And so it is. Bring that with you back into the room. Good. Can anyone share what you're feeling or what most was important for you to hear so that you can have it in your life or the lives of people around you? And or the meditation, not just the talk, but what did you hear or experience that is important to you to hear? Yes?
The I am God is the light of the world.
Yeah. The I am God, the I am presence is the light of the world. And that presence is in me. And I'll know it more by sharing it, shining that light. Anyone else? Yes?
Center of light, I
Oh.
am. That's
The center point I connects with the top of the A, which splits into two. And the two connect with the top of the M, 2 points, and divide into three at the bottom. And the three create my whole being. Nice. Yes?
Like, there's a reason why there's 100,000 optical nerves, optical cones in the piano, so we can naturally get the light and feel the bliss
Right.
that the light provides.
Isn't it amazing resonance? That as below, as above, so below, as within, so, that there's all this resonance. There's a reason for the numbers, the three parts to this cells, the 3 parts to a lymphatic system, the 3 parts of the bones, whatever. All these things, how they're sitting there reverberating because everything's about the I am presence of God. But even in my material life, those threes, the Trinity of God, keep getting reflected in so many other areas of my life. So do other numbers, whether it's 12 or 144,000 or whatever else it happens to be. This is all resonance. Even a guitar, the way a guitar is laid out, the frets, you're dividing sound into variables. You could say it's mathematic and it's vibration. And although it doesn't look like it on the fretboard, it's also color. It's also the unseens. There's frequency to all of this. So, that's why in the ancient times, the Orpheus and some of the Pythagoras, they could do things with sound that people can't imagine doing today. It's so far out, to the point where in one of the mythology stories, an individual goes into Tartarus or hell to save someone from hell, somebody they love. And they go there and they use music to soften the heart of Hades, and he allows them to leave and come to the surface again and live again on earth instead of being dead and in hell. So music has that level of ability, but it's not just the music, it's the consciousness that it represents. There were some other hands up. Who else had? Yes?
Well, you were using the metaphor of E equals MC squared. So if you're bring more of the light of God, well, you're going to raise your vibration.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Triumph over darkness.
So say it again.
Well, you're just the E equals MC squared, and then C represent the light of God. So if you bring more of the light of God, you're going to raise your vibration.
So E equals MC squared means the more God light you bring to it, the more you'll decide whether you're seeing matter or energy. The reason I had him repeat it because he started with you said, and then I had him repeat it without the you said. You see? Own these things as your truth. Don't walk around saying, well, Michael said, who cares? What does that have to do with anything? It isn't Michael said that's going to make, if a guy named Michael said, what they need to hear is your confidence in the things you believe. Good. And who else had their hand up? Yes.
Yeah, you must truly be sincere with yourself.
You have to really be authentic and sincere with yourself. Yes?
There can be beauty and peace in my grief, thanks to what you taught me this morning.
There can be beauty and peace even in grief. Yes. And when you don't feel it, call it in. This isn't like, make this go away, my grief. It's help me to see it differently. It's okay to bring the presence of God into grief. So many magical things could happen. The grief could subside, but I'm not saying it needs to subside because that makes it bad. No, it might subside if that's what the light brings. It might shine light. It might make me dance. I might write a book that nobody's ever written that people need about grief. Who knows? It could be a poem that only 3 people read. But if it changes their lives forever, what measure do you put on that? Yes?
Grief is grace's thief.
Grief, grace's thief. Anyone else? Very cool. All right, thank you. What is it? No. Okay, we're good. So we're going to do our closing prayer, but first our collection. Please, folks, be as generous as you can be. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you, by the way, for paying attention to daylight savings time properly. There's still probably a few people that'll sign on or walk in the door in an hour, The purple bags are for your love offerings, donations, and online there's a button you can click. We appreciate your generosity. Do all that you can to support the work we're doing, please. The wicker baskets are for any extra donations, people of lesser means or special projects. Currently, by the way, some of the special projects, we have our new art on the wall outside, the angel art. By the way, if any of you go out there, you can have a friend or person there take pictures of you standing with the wings coming out. It's really cool, and share it with people, especially if you're passing through the area. Show people. Post it, and some of those, we'll share. If you send us copies of it, we'll try to share that with other people. So it's in our photo album on our website. And also, our an unexpected special project is we've had the same microphones, the cordless ones that speakers on the stage and musicians use, sometimes the cordless ones. After a while, they get a little fragile and short out. So we bought a new system for that. Or we need a new system for that. So that's just, it's several $100. But some of these special projects include things like that. Please take your love offering, hold it sincerely to your heart. And we do a prosperity blessing, it's called. It's a blessing because we're owning prosperity for ourselves, but also extending it to everyone else in the world, everyone we know, everyone we can even imagine. That especially those who struggle, everyone deserves the light and the presence of God in form of prosperity. Together, please, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Yes. While they're passing those around, a couple quick announcements. One, remember that the chaplains have a prayer circle when the service is done. You can sit in the room and just add prayer to the prayers they're doing, or if you have something pressing you can ask for, you can write it on the little slip they'll be passing around in about 15 minutes, and then they'll add you to the prayer. Also, we have a healing room out here, the yurt, the round building. That's got the crystal bed in it, so people have extraordinary experiences. If you've ever done the crystal bed and you can share, send an email to us to tell us what experience you had in the crystal bed, and we put that with our testimonials on that. And let's see, if you're watching online, God bless you, thank you. And we send you the experiential version of this. We don't want you to just feel like you're watching from afar, feel like you're part of this. So, because that's our intention, is to make you part of it. We have the Enchanted Healing Room. It's a block away. So if anybody's looking for, and please keep this in mind and pass the word, Reiki or massage or cranial sacral or different kinds of healing work, we have a room that's just a block away, and people go there and can experience in a really nice environment some deep, deep healing. We have gift bags in the bookstore if you're interested, especially if you're from out of town, you want to bring something back to somebody. The gift bags are like just $20, but it comes with a bunch of stuff in it. So it's a book, an incense burner, a card, incense, several things you'll get in there. And lastly, I think it is, we have a brief meeting once a month for anyone who's interested. This is brand new. We used to do it years ago, but we got distracted with other things we're doing. Every month, the second Sunday of the month, if you're interested in becoming a member of the center, it doesn't take but a 5 or 10 minute conversation. After the service, they'll have a meeting in that room right over there. Not immediately after, wait a few minutes, and then they'll invite people in. You'll meet with our vice president, Dosi, and she'll tell you a little bit about it. It's just simply more like a bit of a commitment to what we do here. Being a member invites you to our member meetings where we discuss new directions and so on. So you have a say-so in voting direction that we're going. All right. So it's very cool. It's very nice, but it doesn't involve DNA tests and blood work and big life commitments. And I think that was it. I think there was one more. No, we already got it. Okay, cool. Please stand for our closing prayer. How are you feeling? Good. It's nice. We're keeping services to an hour and a quarter like we had hoped for, because that's kind of the standard. We sometimes, could go 10 minutes past, but we're trying to keep it more and more to that as best we can. Please do your best to try to show up a few minutes before service. Sometimes we have our guest musician already doing a song, or we're singing a song together. Today, the folks online, it was All You Need Is Love by the Beatles. And it's a great tune. And it's the first song we know of that incorporated a chant, an actual mantra. Love is all you need, love is all you need, love is all. And it's an amazing thing that a songwriter said, you know what? Since we're always sneaking things into our music anyway, let's sneak in a mantra. Love is all. And everybody around the world just, driving there, and they're not realizing they're singing along, but they're reciting a mantra. That love is all you need. So it's very, very cool. Feeling gratitude, feeling peace, feeling hope and regeneration. God, imagine that. If this is true, and I assure you it is, the things we talked about today, then God activates the Christ in me, and the Christ brings new messages into my life. What a great metaphor. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Thank you so much. If you're one of our sacred readers, join us in the back room over there for just 2 minutes. That would be great. Thanks, guys.